Hello, everyone, and welcome to this live stream today. I am so excited to be here with you again. We do this every week. And today I will be diving into how to practice positive self-talk and how to do that without gaslighting our own experiences. This is something I'm really passionate about, and I've seen it make huge shifts in my life as well as in my clients' lives. So I'm excited to jump into this topic today. If you're here now and jumping on this live stream, please say hello. And let me know if you've had any experience with this. If you've had experience with maybe noticing how you talk to yourselves, because we're going to dive into this right now. So I've been recently working with a client who came to see me because she was in a lot of pain and she was interested in brain retraining for helping her to alleviate the chronic pain that she had been in for years and years and years from sciatica and lumbar stenosis. And so she had had a negative experience with this because the practitioners that were guiding her through this program had basically taught her to convince herself that her pain was not real and that her pain did not exist. So how many of you have had this experience before in the past where you've been working with a practitioner of some sort, a doctor, or a medical professional, and they have told you that your pain is all in your head or that it is not real? So when we're speaking about positive self-talk, this is something that we want to be really sensitive to, because maybe we've already had this experience in the past of someone telling us that our pain is not real, and it is real. So the first thing is we want to acknowledge what we're experiencing and to really allow ourselves to feel that experience and to understand, yes, this is a real thing. And so that's not what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to pretend that this doesn't exist. But what we are trying to do is investigate some of these old subconscious beliefs that might have been programmed into our subconscious mind at a very young age. This is where our self-talk begins. It's the way that our parents spoke to us, our peers, it's the way our family members spoke to us, and this all has an impact on how you may be speaking to yourself now as an adult. So when my client and I met, this is what she was experiencing, is this gaslighting. And we worked together for 3 weeks and we incorporated positive self-talk into her daily routine, as well as therapeutic exercises, nutrition. These are the 3 pillars of my program that I go over when I work with clients. And after 3 weeks, she was able to experience a significant reduction in her pain, her sciatic pain in particular, and to really notice how her perception of herself is now starting to shift, and she's really making positive changes. So I also wanted to share a little bit more about my own story with this. I am actually just so proud of myself because I just went backpacking where I was hiking 22 miles in the Sierras with a backpack that was about 30 pounds. And 7 years ago, there's no way I would have thought that I would be able to do that. I was in a lot of pain. I was waking up every night with burning pain in my arms from having a pinched nerve in my neck. And the doctors weren't exactly sure what was going on with me because it wasn't a normal nerve pain. It was an itching, burning pain that made me feel like I wanted to cut my arms off, basically. And it took me a very long time and a long journey to discover what was going on. And I gave up a lot of things that I loved at that time. And backpacking was one of those things. Snowboarding was another thing, dance. And over time, I was able to recover fully. And backpacking is one of the last things I've added on. I also want to try snowboarding this winter. But I'm really proud of myself that it was a long journey for me. It took a while for me to get there, but here I am now, and I'm excited to share some of the tools that I used on my journey. And positive self-talk was one of the ways that I encouraged myself to keep going by telling myself, you can do this and you will do it again. And, not only was I able to do that last weekend, but I had the best time of my life. So I'm excited to share that story with you because if I can do it, I believe that you can do it too. And I talk a lot in my Facebook group here, but also in my programs about neuroplasticity, which is our brain's ability to rewire and to change at any age. And so this is pretty magical, this power that we have. And the more we can be our own cheerleader and encourage ourselves on when we're on this journey, it can really be a helpful tool in our tool bag to recover from pain. So also next week, I'm going to dive more into that story because there was another obstacle that came up when I wanted to go backpacking. I was having this issue with plantar fasciitis. It went on for a year and it was debilitating. And I finally figured out the key to healing the plantar fasciitis that I was experiencing. And on this trip last weekend, when I was hiking all day long, I didn't experience pain in my foot at all. So this is pretty amazing because, a year ago, it was hard to imagine being able to walk without pain at all. And so here I am. And I just wanted to ask if you noticed how in the beginning of my story, how I said that I'm so proud of myself. That is an example of positive self-talk. It could be as simple as that. Just by recognizing ourselves, telling ourselves, you did a good job. I am very proud of you. And there was recently a study that came out by the University of Michigan that actually showed that people who practiced positive self-talk in the third person, so just like I did, saying like, oh, Jenna, I am so proud of you, it's really powerful. And they discovered that there was a 50% reduction in anxiety, if these people were able to practice self-talk, not only that, but in the third person, so that they were speaking directly to themselves. So just by shifting from I to you, or even using your own name, it's very powerful, and you can create psychological distance and reduce some of the emotional intensity that you may be experiencing by doing this. So let's go ahead and dive into exactly what self-talk is. Self-talk is the conversation that's happening in our minds. It's our internal voice, our internal dialogue, and it's the voice that may be telling us that we can't do something, or we may be saying something like, I'm just overreacting, or I'm not really in pain. So that would be an example of maybe how we would be talking to ourselves in a way that gaslights ourselves and gaslights our own experience. So it's really important to notice these things and to shift them. And so this is the first step, is to interrupt this pattern and to ask ourselves, is this really true, what I'm saying about myself right now? And would I speak to a friend this way? That can be a really great question to ask ourselves. So that would be the first step, is catch those negative thoughts. And if you've never tried this before, you may be really surprised when you start to notice the things that you're saying to yourself throughout the day. It often can be very negative. And so when you catch those thoughts, take a moment to pause and ask yourself, where did this belief come from about myself? And is this really true? Because like I said before, our subconscious mind is programmed before the age of 6, and we're like a sponge. So we absorb everything in our environment, especially when it comes to things that our parents say to us. My mother used to always tell me that I was street smart, that I was really intuitive and creative, and she would tell my brother that he was more book smart. And so, of course, I grew up to then be a traveler, to be an artist, to be a healer, a yoga teacher, and to do all of these things that really expressed my creativity, working with my intuition. And, this possibly could have something to do with how my mother spoke to me and what she programmed me with believing I was capable of from a very young age. So whether or not this was a good thing, I think there's a lot of positive things about what she told me because I love what I do now. But I have, really investigated some of those thought patterns that have come up for me and really question them. Is this really true? Is this actually something that I want to believe about myself? And so, as you're starting to challenge some of these thoughts and ask yourself where these came from, you might find it really helpful to have some support in this, working one-on-one with a somatic coach or a therapist can be really helpful if you want to dissect this a little bit more and do more of a deep dive into where these beliefs originally came from. That can be really supportive and really helpful. And so then the next thing that we would do is to replace some of these negative thought patterns with more positive ones, more positive affirmations for ourselves. And one example of that is if you're saying to yourself, I'm just never going to get this right. I just can't do this. One thing you could say instead is, I'm learning every day. I'm getting better and better every day. And that's another way that you can do this without gaslighting yourself, because you're not pretending that you don't actually think that right now in the current moment, but you're suggesting to yourself that you are learning more and more every day, that you are getting better more and more every day. And so that's how I would suggest working with it. And as you're doing that, another important aspect of this is to practice self-compassion. That can be just so important to practice that self-compassion and that love, because we're all human and we all do this. It's really interesting how it's so common. So be gentle with yourself when you start to notice these thoughts come up. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay to have these doubts, these fears. We're all human. It's totally normal. It's all good. But we just want to not let them control our life, control our actions. And we also want to start to really believe in ourselves that we can achieve the goals that we want to achieve. So when this comes to pain, when we're experiencing a lot of pain, I know because I've been there, I really wasn't able to foresee a time in the future where I might be able to do the things that I really want to do. And so I had to investigate those thoughts and start to shift them and start to really believe in myself, to say, you have done this before and you can do this and you are going to do this again. So that's how I would suggest working with your self-talk. And if you're popping on this live stream today, feel free to say hello and just let me know if this is resonating with you and if you can relate to this, if you can relate to having some of these negative stories that are playing out in your mind. So as we start to reframe our story, we can begin to shift our focus from what we can't do towards what we can do, and we can really celebrate the small wins. So for maybe some of my friends, doing a backpacking trip isn't a big deal for them, but for me, it was huge. And so I really made sure to celebrate myself, to be grateful, to express that gratitude, because I could remember a time where I just did not think that that would be possible for me, but I was able to shift my focus from what I couldn't do to what I could do, and that made all of the difference. And I did use some brain retraining techniques for this as well, which I do have a live stream on. You can check that out in the group, and I will also link that here under the comments so that you can check that out. But what I did for about a year before this trip actually happened is I visualized myself going on a backpacking trip. And I did it, because the subconscious mind is reprogrammed through repetition. I did it over and over and over again. And I would just visualize myself in the forest, surrounded by nature, surrounded by the trees, hiking with a friend or someone that I really loved, and hearing the sounds of the birds, hearing the sounds of the pine needles crunching under my feet as I was walking, and I would just program this over and over again into my mind. So this is another way of working with shifting your story, your narrative, and your belief. You can use visualization, and I suggest using both to reprogram the subconscious mind, using visualization and using self-talk, because maybe you're doing visualization a couple of minutes a day, but the self-talk is going to be happening all day long, right? So that can be, the two together can be really, really powerful for shifting some of these narratives. So let's just do a overview. And actually, I want to talk about, I didn't talk about this, but I wanted to introduce, if you're interested in learning more about this topic, there is actually a book on this by Dr. Shad Helmstetter. It's called What to Say When You Talk to Yourself. So you can check out that book. You can look for it on Audible if you like audiobooks. You can also probably find it for free on YouTube. But I would definitely suggest checking that book out because it really does a deep dive into this topic. And let's just quickly overview what he talks about in the book. And it's pretty similar to what what I was just going over here. But the first step that he suggests is the way that we look at our stories is often just reinforcing our limiting beliefs. So he calls it negative acceptance. Like, for example, I'll never get better. And so that's the first step, is seeing where you're saying that to yourself. And then the second one is the recognition and the need to change. So maybe you're saying to yourself, I should change, but I can't. And so people recognize the need to change, but they still feel stuck, right? Like, I know I should try, but nothing's working. I think that's really common when it comes to pain. And then the third step that he discusses in his book is the decision to change, where you say to yourself, I will change. So that's the next step. And at this point, we just make a firm decision to shift our self-talk and really affirm to ourselves, I'm going to start changing how I speak to myself. Okay, so maybe listening to this live stream now, you're getting inspired and you're starting to have those thoughts too. Like, okay, yeah, I do actually want to start to shift the way that I speak to myself, because I could see how that matters. If that's resonating for you, pop a comment below and maybe just give a thumbs up and let me know that you're resonating with this. So the fourth step is I am capable and I can. So that is the better you, stepping into this better version of yourself, just like I was speaking to when I told you about the visualization I was doing with my backpacking, how I was imagining myself doing that. So this is an example of that. You're envisioning the better version of you that you would like to be. And this is really where the real transformation begins, where we can actually see ourselves making a shift, being a different person, being where we actually want to be, knowing that we are capable of healing. And that's really important because sometimes we don't feel like we're capable of healing. We're not sure that we can heal. And so this is a really important step. And the fifth step that he talks about in his book is affirmations. So we kind of went over this before, but this is the point where we are kind of really on board and committed to this process of shifting our self-talk, shifting these negative patterns and beliefs. And at this level, we're just fully aligned with our beliefs and actions. And we can really say something like, I am at peace in my body, and really feel it strongly in ourselves. And that's where the true transformation really occurs, when we can be confident in these affirmations because we really believe in it. And on that note, you don't actually have to believe an affirmation for it to work, but you just have to have faith, right? So there's a difference between belief and faith. So belief is like, okay, I know this is going to happen, and faith is like, well, I want it to happen, and so I'm going to do everything that I can do to bring myself towards that goal. Okay, so I will pop in the comments below a link to that book if you want to explore this more, and if you would like to check this out. And if you would just like more support with this so that we can work together to get you an individual plan for how you can start working with this information yourself, how you can weave it into maybe some practices you're already doing. Or maybe you're interested in a more holistic program, which incorporates therapeutic movement, a positive self-talk and visualization, as well as another aspect of healing, nutrition, how we're supporting our body from within. Then go ahead and reach out to me. You can pop a comment below, which just a heart emoji would be great, and I will reach out to you. We can chat more about how I can support you, or just feel free to send me a private message as well. And that is it. So thank you so much for joining me today in this live stream. I hope that this was supportive for you. I hope it was helpful for you. And I will see you on Monday. So in our live stream on Monday, we are going to be diving into foot pain, more specifically plantar fasciitis, but this will be great for anybody that is struggling with foot pain. And we're going to talk about some of the tools that I use to heal my own plantar fasciitis pain that I struggled with for a year, and the mistakes I made, the things I wish I really wouldn't have wasted my time doing, and what really in the end worked for me. And I will see you there on Monday. It's going to be at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, please let me know if you have any questions. And just remember that self-talk, it's a choice, and we can choose words that empower us. So I can't wait to hear your experiences about this, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.